So I have a friend whose mother had recently given him some grief when he slipped and said, you were sober when you went to the liquor store. What happened? And just not understanding that, basically trying to apply rational thinking to an irrational disorder. So what I would say to that mother is to kindly explain how it works. And I've explained this before on my videos. But when we, as alcoholics, get a craving, or anybody, our brain releases a little bit of dopamine that causes us to seek more. And when that happens, our prefrontal cortex essentially shuts down and leaves us at the mercy of our midbrain, which has no willpower. No rational thought exists in the emotional midbrain, in the amygdala. It's the troublemaker of the brain. And that's why recovery and doing the work is so important. That strengthens the prefrontal cortex to battle the midbrain. When those two things are out of whack, it's called limbic friction. And that's what happens in cases like when we vowed that we woke up that day and we vowed we were not going to drink that day. And then we find ourselves making that almost out-of-body walk or drive to the liquor store. I liken it more to a hypnotic experience. I heard a guy that was hypnotized that said he knew that it was napkins and not $100 bills in front of him as the hypnotist told him. But when the time came for him to reach out and grab them, he was grabbing those things as if they were $100 bills. He could not help himself. And that's what happens when we do things like go to a liquor store, even when we know we have vowed not to drink. It's an irrational process. I'll again use the analogy I got from Dr. Nicole Labor on her keynote speech, that it's like you're 5 days in a desert and someone offers you a bottle of water. Tells you if you take it, you're going to lose everything. But what are you going to do? You're going to take it. That's not just alcoholics. That's anybody. You're going to take it and you're going to deal with the consequences later. Well, for an alcoholic, that's what it's like for us all the time when we get a craving. Willpower does not apply. As I've said, willpower only applies in terms of doing the work. Otherwise, maybe superhuman willpower might do it. But otherwise, you have to overcome that craving. Now, I have said there are ways to do it, such as a cold shower. Even just a regular shower will change your nervous system, but a cold shower will give you that dopamine hit that you need, that you're seeking. It'll give you, in fact, a much greater one than the alcohol will, a 250% one that'll last for up to 3 hours. I call it the ultimate cravings overcomer, but it's very difficult, especially when you're in the throes of addiction, to drag your ass in that shower. It's much easier to drag yourself, unfortunately, to the liquor store, especially if you're already out and about and happen to be driving by one. So if anything, that mother might say to their loved one, hey, how much work are you doing? If you told me you want to get sober for the sake of your family, for your job, for your child. But if you mean that, you've got to do the work. And as I just said in my previous video, you've got to make sobriety your number one priority, or you will drink again. So again, that's where the willpower comes in. But it's not easy, especially if you do have that job and that child or children and that family. But that's when another video I just did applies, the pregnancy principle, where you've got to become absolutely 100% selfish, unapologetically selfish. And you've got to relay that to your spouse and even in your employer if possible. It's very difficult. But again, the point is that's where you can apply willpower and do the work. But it's not when you're experiencing a craving and your cortex is shut down and you're trying to fight off going to the liquor store. So the loved ones, I need to remind them of that. People, it's just not a rational process, and you can't apply rational thinking. That's why people give up their entire lives. They know, including people know in cases that they're going to go to jail or go back to jail. In terms of people that have to do regular sobriety tests, they're still going to drink. even knowing if they fail it, they're going to go back to jail. That happens all the time. Just unfortunately, I did another video that people that drive drunk, even with a child, they don't plan that. Unfortunately, it just happens. It's an irrational experience. So I could go on forever, but hopefully that gets the message across. Loved ones owe it to themselves to get educated on this experience and not speak to people in that way, because it does not help. Tough love does not work in the case of helping people get sober. So that'll do it. As always, stronger, sober. Please like, share, subscribe. Thanks.